Okay, I'm just going to start by giving some backstory to what this is basically. This is something I started working on and conceived several months ago, where, to me it's really clear that there's a lot of people who really want to just get to Diamond, and I think that's a good goal to set. If you can get there, that means you've developed a lot of the fundamental skills that are going to allow you to continue improving or to switch roles or to pick up new champions, especially if you've built those skills in a really effective way. I kind of put it down though at the time because I wanted it to be like brand new to D4 kind of guide, and I didn't really have any brand new players at the time. And recently, a friend of mine who had never played a MOBA before started playing League of Legends, and that allowed me to sort of build some of the initial lessons um, for the system, basically. And this is going to sort of serve as a focus group so that I can really, really flesh it out and then just like throw it out publicly, and I don't have to like worry about it as much anymore, and it'll just serve as like a really helpful resource for that. So just some notes for the focus group. Basically, obviously, I'm going to be accepting a lot of feedback. I made a feedback channel. You can also message me personally. I just ask that you be respectful to the other people in the focus group. And one thing I really want to keep in mind is when you're giving feedback to other people or talking to other people about the game, I want you to be careful with how that meets the focus. So, for example, if we have somebody in here who's very new to the game, my friend who's brand new, he's been playing for 5 days. He doesn't even know what a rune is. So if someone like that posts a screenshot and I have them on like, hypothetically lesson 8, identifying lanes to gank, they haven't even learned what items are. If you start like critiquing their items or their runes, you're just going to confuse them and break their focus, right? They're learning a specific thing. Everybody in here at every point should be focused on something that they're learning or in between things that they're learning. But the next time they're going to put in effort is going to be to go to the next thing. So try to be careful with preserving that focus. Um, right now, I'm just going to go through the document and kind of read what I've put in so far. So, preface. Jungle is a very complicated role, which makes it hard to learn, but also very underdeveloped. Currently, the perception in the League community is that the easiest way to climb is by playing support. That is true in Masters Plus, as support is in a similar place to Jungle, where the difficulty of learning the role has led to the role being underdeveloped and the skill level of players being lower, to an even more extreme extent at that high elo. But the jungle basics are easier to learn, and applying those basics is, in my opinion, the easiest way to climb below masters. And so the document is going to end up serving as a guide to the basic play style for jungle and a basic sort of approach to the game. Um, when the guide's finished, you'll be able to follow it at your own pace. And I think that players can probably hit diamond from anywhere in about 2 to 5 months by putting in about 2 to 5 hours a day. You could put in less if you want, and it would just take you a little longer. If anyone gets stuck or has difficulty with any part of the guide, please reach out to me. Um, and then there's just some more preface information here. So in-game apps, if you're not using something like Porofessor or OPGG desktop app or Mobalytics or something like that, that's something I really recommend you getting. It's going to allow you to kind of just ignore runes and items for a while. Obviously, automatic runes and automatic items are not as good as learning to make good decisions, but that's so much less important than the fundamentals that we're going to learn that we can kind of put that stuff off for a while. And then obviously jungle timers are super helpful. I personally have been using the OPGG one since it came out. It's not really a big deal. It's just a matter of preference. Um, if you're brand new, which I don't think anybody in here right now is, then I recommend watching like a video like this or some other similar video that just kind of gives like an overview on the whole game, because I'm assuming for the rest of the guide that you know what a jungler is and who an ADC is and where dragons are and stuff like that. I'm going to mark a little edit in here. Next, I just put a bunch of information. There's going to be a bunch of helpful links here that I add over time. I'm actually going to put specific references to these to come back to later when I think they become really relevant. But if you're one of the Plat or Emerald players in here, this is probably a consideration for you already to take. If you haven't read what all the champions in the game do, or you haven't read what all the items do, you might not even realize information you're missing. I've worked with a lot of players before who are around that skill level and they think that they know a lot, and then I ask them to just read one champion page, and they go, wait, that ability slows? Wait, I thought that ability did magic damage, stuff like that. And it's like, well, that does matter. You need to know that. Or wait, that ability has that high of a cooldown, right? That stuff is important, and when you start to get to Emerald, it is going to be a bit relevant, and it's just the easiest way to get better. It's just very boring. It also takes most jungle camps, all the non-epic ones and the non-buff ones, 2 minutes and 15 seconds to respawn. Blue and red take 5 minutes. Scuttle Crab takes 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I link already to the Season 14 jungle clear spreadsheet. This is like the jungle clears for every champion in the game, totally optimized. Next section, choosing a jungler. Um, we're focusing on sort of what's the most simple fundamental jungle play style. So we're going to want a jungler that has a good full clear. We want a jungler that's good at fighting and skirmishing. We want a jungler that's mechanically easy. We want a jungler that's naturally durable. We want a jungler that isn't vulnerable in the early game. We don't want to get killed on an invade or killed at Scuttle Crab instantly or anything like that. We want a jungler that has decent ganks or dives, and that slims the champs in the game down to a pretty short list. There's a lot who possess 4 or 5, and if you want to play a champion that meets maybe 4 or 5 of these requirements, that's okay. But ideally, we're playing one with all 6. It's kind of Udyr and Volibear. Hecarim is a little tough on some of these, but he can kind of get there. And just because I think he's the best example, just kind of for the whole guide, I'm going to use Volibear as an example, though I'll be like working in other champions later. So then lesson 1 is actually a lot harder than lesson 2. The Emerald and Gold players are probably going to be able to skip lesson 2, but lesson 1, we're just going to practice the clear. I'm going to have to replace this whole section because over coaching my brand new friend, it became very quickly obvious that there's a lot of mechanics that players who are experienced are going to take for granted um, that you do actually have to break down individually. Um, I haven't made that video yet, but I'm kind of going to run you guys through what that video is going to look like when it gets made. So obviously I recommend that they, watch a jungle clear. In the video, I'll just do one. If I can't get fast enough because I'm rusty, I'll just like get one of my challenger friends to do it. But we're going to go through all the controls. I guess actually I should go back to where the button is. If you've never opened Practice Tool, it's under Training and then Practice Tool. For the more experienced players, I'm going to say a lot of stuff that sounds really, really, really simple, but it turns out that when you're working with brand new players, they don't know you can click on the minimap to move your camera. They don't know that you can, change a setting to, quick cast things and stuff like that. That's all covered in the beginner video, but it's pretty easy to miss, one throwaway line in a 30-minute long video. So I'll definitely say some things that are very simple, but that's for the people who are at the start, and we'll definitely get to some content later where we're catching up to the more experienced players. You'll also notice I play in windowed mode. You do not have to do that. That is mostly personal preference. I think it is slightly better if you have a very, very large monitor. I prefer to play in a window that's about 17 inches in size, like physical size. But it's preference based. I think it's slightly better for mouse accuracy and visual acuity, but it's not a big deal. But all the Koreans do it, so. Yeah, it used to be, I remember there was pictures back in the day behind like Korean teams at Worlds and they'd all be playing League in like a little window because it was really hard to track things in game at the time, so they track it in a notepad. Once you get into the practice tool, you're going to buy any of the jungle items. It actually doesn't matter for your first clear, they don't affect anything. You're going to skill your E by pressing Control and E. Don't click on the button. You need to learn the habit of skilling things faster. You're going to press Shift and S in Practice Tool. This allows us to teleport anywhere. You're going to press Control Shift O or click this button, which speeds the game up by 30 seconds. At 128 game time, you're going to drop a Volibear E. On the red buff, you're going to auto, step back, auto, step back, auto, step back. You're going to keep repeating this until your E is up. You're going to E while stepping back, auto, step back. My timing there wasn't as good. Auto, step back. We're starting to get to the range. I'm going to slow down a bit. This is going to be fine. We're not going for the fastest clear. We're just going for a good clear. We're going to E this camp. W, auto, step back. Auto. We're going to auto these guys. Think those are dead to the burn? Yeah, they're dead to the burn. I didn't have to auto there. This camp as we approach, we want it to be close enough to us that we get the shield, but it still hits all the raptors. That can be a little tricky for new players. That guy's dead to the burn. We're going to skill Q. We're going to cast it around here. We're going to put the E there. And we're going to get this whole camp. We're going to smite this camp. We're going to fight blue buff while kiting it backwards. Once our E is about to be up and it's quite low, we're going to walk over here and bring the E down. I missed the Gromp. You're going to want to try to hit both camps. And you're going to want to kite this to the right so you can get the Scuttle Crab. 324. That's pretty bad clear, actually. I've mostly been clearing faster than that, but usually without having to narrate everything I'm doing. If you're experienced, you should be aiming for like a 320 here. If you're inexperienced, try to get this down to a 325. It's going to look a lot different at first. Once you're finished, you can press Control-Shift-P or press this button to reset the game. And then do it again. Initially, it's going to look a lot worse. So now I'm going to break down all the little things we did so that you can kind of learn the progressions of this clear. So the first very important thing that I think you need to work in when clearing the jungle is making sure to use your spells on cooldown. You'll see a lot where new players are standing there hitting, which that's the first step. Their E comes back up, and they just don't cast it for a while. I've seen players who've been playing for months make this mistake, and this is something that you should have, by your third day of playing League of Legends, right? After you've made sure you're using your spells on cooldown, there's another mistake which has become so habitual for me. I don't even know if I can do this on purpose. I didn't try messing this up on purpose. But I did do it. You start an auto and you cast a spell while your auto's in motion and you end up canceling autos. That's something a lot of new players will make a mistake of. And that's going to cost you a lot of time. Let me try to do it a couple more times here. And I'll really zoom in so you can see it. You can see the auto attack animation hits, and there's sort of an amount of time between the next auto attack animation, right? If I'm just spamming autos, there's time in between. I can move and start another one, and I'm not really losing time. But you can kind of cancel things the other direction, where you start an auto, and then you use a spell, and you end up canceling it. So let's look at that a little more. You auto, and oh, my hand was just about to hit him, and I canceled it, right? Oh, my hand was just about to hit him, and I canceled it. I didn't hit him. You can also cancel the end of the autos with the animations. So now I'm hitting them with my hands. 1, 2, 3. There's a bunch of time in between. 1, W. 2, E. 1, 2. Hit Q instantly, right? If you use your spell right as an attack hits, you're actually canceling the end of the animation. But if you use a spell right before your attack hits, you're canceling the whole attack and you're losing tons of time, right? Another thing, make sure you don't use both smites. This is a one smite clear. Most junglers' clears are one smite. Do not use both smites when you're practicing, or you'll get a much faster time than you're supposed to. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, I think I can explain then why this is so important, because I think that's important to understand. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to clear the jungle as fast as possible? Well, I just finished my clear. Let's say I, kill this scuttle crab, or maybe I lose the scuttle crab fight. Doesn't really matter. I go back, I buy some items. Those don't matter. And I'm gonna run over here to my next camp. Well, if I did my last clear 10 seconds slower, I'd be getting to this camp 10 seconds later. And then I'd be doing this clear 10 seconds slower. And then I'd be doing the next clear, well, that's both of them. I'd be doing the next clear 30 seconds slower. And then 40, I'm going to be way, 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 way behind, further and further behind throughout the game. It also allows us to get to things earlier. This guy spawns at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So if I had done my clear in 3:45, I'm going to be showing up here and the scuttle crab might be gone. The enemy jungler might have killed it before I even got here because it's pretty easy to kill this guy when you save a smite for it. It's pretty quick. So getting to that in time is good. If the enemy junglers are really fast clear, they might go for a gank before the scuttle even dies. And you might not even be done your clear yet, and they're fighting your top laner, and you can't be there to help. So it's just a speed thing. It speeds up our whole game if our clearing is faster. And this is the biggest barrier to entry for jungle, is how fast we're clearing the jungle. Because a lot of players in low elo, I ask them, okay, you're a jungle main, you've been playing for a few months in iron or bronze, let's see your clear. Okay, 340, that's not going to cut it. And even plat gold players, they'll show me their clear. 330, no, you should be at like a 320, you're late to scuttle. So I think that's what we'll do next. Everybody can just do this if you want to. If you want to do a different champion than Volibear, like Udyr or Hecarim or Nocturne or something, I'll post the Jungle Clear spreadsheet in the links channel, along with, I'll actually post the whole document as well. And you guys can just do that clear. Feel free to screen share, and I'll just like check in and we can talk with some people after. And I'll stop the recording now.